Hi everyone. Hope you're all doing good. Okay, welcome back. Happy New Year. And well, it's been a while, hasn't it? It's been feels like an eternity, doesn't it? It's been only probably been about a month or so, but we are finally back. We finally got some UFC action again, first of the new year. And of course that brings the second round of the Lucky Bastard game, 34th edition. Obviously, it's been a while, so we'll just do a quick recap of what happened last time. We started um, the first round for the 34th edition on the last card of last year. We started with 43 players, and after one of the most brutal elimination uh, rounds in the history of the game, or at least at this stage anyway, we are left with just 16 players left in it. 27 were eliminated of the original 43, which is an insane rate for the first rounds, which usually follow a sort of 50-50 um, elimination rate on average. But anyway, we'll just quickly remind ourselves who those remaining 16 are, as I'm sure some of you might have even forgotten if you're still in the game or not. So, the 16 remaining lucky bastards are Baron von Rattet, Boom Shakalaka, Calfoth, Chimpsmack, Cool Hand Puke, D1 D4 K10, Dr. Maxis 2, El Guapo, Foghorn Sam, KK Kombu, MMA Autist, Piggybank, Rigno, Shat, Siyun 6, and Trail. So those are our 16 players, sorry. Not quite down to six yet, but the 16 players for the second round of the 34th edition. And for this round, we have UFC 324, Justin Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett for the interim lightweight title. Because obviously Ilia Topuria is swanning about doing whatever he's doing. I know he's got a lengthy divorce and legal case going on with that, so he's got a few issues outside the cage, which obviously we're not going to be seeing him in the cage until at least another 3 or 4 months. So in the meantime, we got the interim title, and it's sort of again it's the old guard versus the new guard, really. Justin Gaethje feels like he's been around forever. Um, it's hard to remember a time he wasn't in the UFC. Um, Paddy Pimblett, of course, the newer guy on the block. He's only 7-0 in the UFC, so only 7 fights so far in the promotion. Already fighting for a title in one of the most stacked divisions in the UFC. It's testament to his popularity or perceived popularity, anyway. Personally, as a Brit, I'm not really here or there on him. I don't mind him. I don't have anything against him, but I'm not really a fan of his either. Just, he's a good fighter. I respect him, but I'm not going to be rooting for him over Gacy. As a matter of fact, I've actually picked Justin Gaethje for this. Picked him to win by decision. Um, Suppose simply just mostly on experience, really, because yes, Paddy Pimblett's on a good run, and he's had a very impressive win over Michael Chandler in his last fight. Other than that, though, he hasn't really fought any of the top fighters at lightweight. Um, you can maybe make an argument for King Green being in and around the rankings. He beat the ghost of Tony Ferguson. Uh, and he had a very close fight with Jared Gordon, of course, which I still think he lost. But he's a good fighter, but not really been tested. Whereas Justin Gaethje's record is a who's who of the lightweight division. And I say he's still in decent form. He's not really past his prime. He's not on a losing streak or anything. Um, he won a decision against Faziev in his last fight. So yeah, he's not really over the hill or too past his prime, Gaethje. So I think he's still got enough in the tank to beat Paddy Pimblett. But we'll see. But Anyway, you're not here to listen to my predictions. Obviously, that is a side effect of listening to this video. You're here to see who you're going to get drawn with in the Lucky Bastard game. So let's get on with it. First up is Baron von Rattus. Let's see. First Lucky Bastard spin of the of 2026 of the new year. So let's see who Baron von Rattus ends up with. And Baron von Rattus ends up with Arnold Allen. Arnold Allen there for Baron von Rattus. Obviously, he's fighting against Gene Silver in a very intriguing match. Although I have picked Gene Silver for this one for a second round knockout. Um, Again, Arnold Allen's a bit more experienced in the UFC and in MMA as well, but not too much in it in terms of their MMA records. Allen's 20 wins, 3 losses. Gene Silver 16 wins, 3 losses. There's only 4 extra fights, but 11-2 in the UFC, Arnold Allen, and Gene Silver's 5-1 in the UFC. So Allen's got twice as much UFC experience. But in my opinion, Gene Silver has just looked so impressive since coming into the UFC. His only loss, of course, was that devastating spinning back elbow against Diego Lopez. What was that, about 4 months ago now? 4 months ago. And I feel like the UFC still feel like they got a star on their hands with Silver, and they're right, they do. Uh, Whereas Arnold Allen, he's not been the most active. His last fight was against Chikadze, so it was a good win there, decision that time. But that was about 1 year, 5 months ago, according to my notes here. So it's nearly 1.5 years since we've seen Arnold Allen in action. Um, Again, I'd say normally if he was a bit more active, I'd probably be siding with Allen, but I just can't help but feel like this is a bit of a soft touch for not really a soft touch, still a challenge, but definitely a sort of a bounce back fight of sorts for Gene Silver, I feel. And Gene Silver, of course, is pure knockout artist. He's got insane power to turn anyone's lights off if you give him half a chance. So yeah, I'm going Gene Silver for that one. So I think Baron van Rattus is going to need a bit of luck here. Always helps, of course. Okay, Boom Shakalaka next to learn his fate. See who Boom Shakalaka is going to be paired with. And he gets a Tabor Gautier. A Tabor Gautier there for Boom Shakalaka. And again, another pure knockout artist. 3-0 in the UFC, so, and 9-1 in his MMA career. So still fairly new, still fairly green. Um, Still yet to prove himself, so to speak. But so far, absolutely perfect in the UFC. All his three of his UFC wins have been first round knockout finishes. So and yeah, so he's only lost once in his whole career. Funny enough, that was I think I've mentioned it before in previous videos because this stat always amuses me. He lost a split decision to Glenn Williams, a Welsh fighter, and that was Glenn Williams' only pro fight in 2022. He hasn't fought since. So it's amusing to think that Glenn Williams is just like, yep, I've got a great win on my record. That's it. I'm calling it a day, and fair play to him. But anyway, Saber Gautier at the moment, or tomorrow night anyway, he's going to be fighting Andre Puliev. And yeah, Puliev's not still new to the UFC, still fairly inexperienced himself, but not quite made as good a start to his company tenure as Gautier has, 1-1 in the UFC. Um, did get a good knockout win over Nick Klein last time out, but uh, and to be fair to him, his only other loss was a decision against Christian Leroy Duncan, who's himself is also renowned for his knockout power and usually finishes fights inside the distance. So the fact that he went the distance with Christian Leroy Duncan is impressive. And I am a bit of a Christian Leroy Duncan fan myself, having seen him in Cage Warriors for so long. But uh, got to respect Polyev. He's a hard guy to finish, but Gautier is so far he's just looked like a completely different level, really. Just freakish power. So I've gone with another first round knockout there for a Tabor Gautier. So I think Boom Shakalaka is in with a very good chance of making it into the third round here. Okay, so Kalfoth next to learn his fate. Let's see who Kalfoth gets paired with. And he gets Modestas Bukauskas. Apologies for butchering that one. Uh, Buka, how are we spelling that? I may as well try and spell it right, even if I can't pronounce it right. Bukauskas. But he's just only a slight favourite, which surprised me. This one, he's fighting Nikita Krylov, light heavyweight bout, and obviously Nikita Krylov very experienced. 30 wins, 11 losses, so that's 41 fights in his career. Um, and I feel like fighters with of this generation, I feel like a lot of fighters of this generation aren't going to have 40 plus fights in their career anymore. I think stats and records like that are going to be a thing of the past sooner or later, similar to how old school boxing guys used to have 50 plus pro fights in their careers, and that doesn't really happen anymore, besides a few exceptions. But anyway, before I get too distracted, he's Modestas has got a fairly respectable but record in the UFC, 7 wins, 4 losses. Um, that's not exactly challenging for the title at this rate or at this moment in time, but he's got a lot of regional experience as well. He was 7-1 in Cage Warriors, which again is a promotion I really rate them very highly. Also 3-1 in UC MMA, which was a much more lower level British promotion. I don't know if they still do events. I haven't heard anything about them since the pandemic, but I used to love watching their shows because they used to show old reruns of them on a TV channel called London Live. That's how I originally heard of them. Saw a couple of their events live in person, which were great experiences. But yeah, I don't think they're still active, but they were a great promotion when they were active anyway. And I'm pretty sure Michael Venom Page actually got his early starts in UCMMA. Um, anyway, again going off topic a bit, but Bakuskas currently on a 4 fight win streak. Prefers to keep the fight standing, but he can go the distance if needed as well. If he's gone a distance a few times in his career, so he's got the stamina to last the 3 rounds. And I've got him to win by a first round knockout here. Having said that, though, because a lot of his fights either end early or he goes the distance. I've got a funny feeling that Nikita Krylov, he's he could be uh, a bit vulnerable to a fighter like Bakuskas, rather, is what I meant to say, because a lot of Krylov's fights, when you look into it, whether he wins or loses, it's very, very rare for his fights to go the distance. He's a very entertaining fighter. I give him that. You can't deny that. But I feel like he could be a little bit too reckless here against Bakuskas, and if he does make a mistake, Badula, he Modestas will punish him for it. So I think he's going to finish it with a first round knockout. And looking at the odds for it, to be fair, one of my New Year's resolutions on this game actually was trying to sort of given how bad gambling is, let's be honest, it's a horrible habit. Try and mention odds less than I have in the past in these videos. But having said that, I was surprised that Bakuskas is only a -150 favourite. I thought he'd be a little bit more of a heavy favourite than that. But anyway, well, as I have said, I'm trying to make a conscious effort to mention gambling less and less in these videos. Um, but anyway, for the game, I think Halforth's got a decent chance of getting through. Okay, Chimp Smack next to see who he's going to be paired with. Let's see who Chimp Smack is going to be represented by in the Octagon tomorrow night. And he gets Denzel Freeman. Uh, Denzel Freeman there for Chimp Smack. Uh, Fairly early on in the prelims, three fights into the show, he's up against Josh Hockett. Um, Obviously, they're very similar, actually, the two fights in terms of where they are in their careers. Denzel Freeman, 7-1, Josh Hockett, 7-0. Um, both won their UFC debuts. Denzel Freeman, of course, won his UFC debut, a unanimous decision against Eric Bougelot. Previously in the LFA, 2-0 there, and fought a couple of times in the PFL as well. Um, Josh Hockett, again, he's 3-0 in the LFA as well. So again, they both came through the same kind of path, so to speak. Um, Having said that, I think I have sided with Freeman just because of a slightly more experience, and I feel like looking at his LFA fights compared to Hockett's LFA fights, and of course taking into account his extra two PFL fights, I think he's gained a fair bit of valuable experience. He's got the better quality resume so far of the two of them. Um, Freeman, of course, in terms of style, more of a striker, and he's got power. He's proven that in the past. So I think, again, I think he could find a finish here. So I've got him by second round knockout. And again, that's I suppose similar situation to what I was just saying about the uh, Bakuskas versus uh, versus Nikita Krylov fight. I think Hockey, if you look at his fights, he's never gone the distance. Very well rounded, four knockouts, three subs. But again, I feel like if Hockey comes into this a bit too fast, he could find himself on the wrong end of a strike from Freeman. So it's a close fight, very close fight, real coin toss fight, and it could work the other way. Hockey, if he gets off to a fast start, that could catch Denzel Freeman out. But I think Freeman's got that little bit more experience. He's gonna be more aware of the two, or at least the less likely of the two, to rush in and potentially make a mistake or get too caught up in the fight. So I think he should be the slight favourite for this one. And it's a close one for Chimp Smack. There are better fighters on the card he could have got, but there are definitely worse ones he could have got as well. So that's a real sort of middling kind of pick. But I think he should be all right. I think he should be okay, all things considered. Could have been a lot worse. Okay, Cool Hand Puke next to Learn His Fate. Let's see who Cool Hand Puke gets paired with. And another fighter on the early prelims, very early, in fact. First one uh, on the show. It's Ty Miller for Cool Hand Butte. Ty Miller, of course, fighting Adam Fugart. And Miller's still undefeated, 6-0. Making his debut in the UFC, having come from the Contender Series. And yeah, I think it's again a little bit of sort of a soft touch kind of fight, so to speak, because Adam Fugart is yes, he's more experienced, 10-5 in his MMA career, but he's five UFC fights, he's gone 2-3, which isn't the best start to a UFC career. So I feel like this is the sort of thing where the UFC have got their new prospects that they're excited about, they want to promote, and they've decided to pair him up for his debut against someone who's not quite live up to expectations. And I think in the UFC eyes that would be Adam Fugit. So I would I would say Ty Miller should be uh should be looking to really capitalize this one. Most of his fights have gone the distance. He's won four decisions in his career, but he has a couple of knockout wins, and I feel like if this is the sort of fight where he can afford to take a bit of a risk and come forward and really try and make a uh, highlight statement into the to start his career in the UFC. But Adam Fugger, yeah, I just can't shake the feeling he's going to be a bit of a sacrificial lamb. Uh, has been knocked out in the past as well. It's yeah, I'm struggling to make an argument for to play devil's advocate as to why Adam Fugit might win this. He had a good win against Josh Quinlan, to be fair to him. But that is unfortunately the best we can say about him so far in his career. Not that that's anything to sniff at, but yeah, I just feel like the UFC just don't really see too much of a future in Fugit. Um, Maybe after this, if he loses this, potentially ends up being cut, unfortunately. But Ty Miller, he should be all right in this. I think the UFC are giving him a nice, not easy, but definitely a winnable fight to start with. Okay, so D1, D4, K10 next to learn his fate. And he gets lightweight, not lightweight, flyweight legend, Davison Figueiredo. Davison Figueiredo there for D1, D4, K10. Figueiredo. I've absolutely butchered the spelling of that one. Well, of course, Davison Figueiredo, now a bantamweight, but as I mentioned, flyweight, he was a champion, what feels like, I don't know, half a dozen times. Him and Alex Moreno are just playing past the parcel with the belt for a good, was it four fights they've had in total? It's incredible series they had there, but obviously now bantamweight, and he's got off to a decent start at bantamweight. He's won some, but he's not really looking to be quite as dominant at this weight as he was at flyweight. Although that is also partly due to his age, to be honest, because he is 38 now. So he is undeniably past his prime. He's got wealth of experience. He's given us some great entertainment, but over the years, but unfortunately, I think if he's just going to be well a name for newer fighters to try and get a win on their record. To be honest, obviously a very tough fight against Umar Nurmagomedov, who Figueiredo isn't really in the bantamweight title picture at the moment. I'd say he'd need a good couple of wins uh, to get back to get to that kind of level, but Umar Nurmagomedov's looking to get back to that level because that was his only loss in his career against Marab in his title weight attempt, title fight, and obviously lost that one by decision. But um, yeah, this seems like uh, yeah, it's sort of like again just an attempt for Magomedov to get a name on his record, to try and build a bit of momentum. And obviously the bantamweight landscape has changed. Obviously, Petr Yan's now the champion. Marab is no longer the champion. Which feels kind of weird actually. I remember mentioning in one of these videos, I thought Marab was going to be the bantamweight champion for a very long time, for as long as he wanted to. But now it's shows what I know, don't it? Uh, But anyway, as for this particular fight, Umar Nurmagomedov for a decision win against Figueiredo, simply on the basis that it's gonna. I can see it being a sort of fight, if quite a wrestling heavy fight, um, but one that will be dominated by Umar. And yeah, Figueiredo's he's wise enough and still good enough that he shouldn't. I'm not expecting someone like Umar Nurmagomedov to finish Figueiredo, but yeah, definitely. Uh, Figueiredo's a very big underdog for this, and understandably so. They're just at completely different stages of their careers, and Umar just at a slightly higher ranking, just outside of the title picture, whereas Figueiredo's a good few wins away from a title picture. And to be honest, I don't think it's not really getting there. To be honest, I think it's just a case of have a few good legacy wins if you can. That's at bantamweight, but we won't forget his career at flyweight. That was legendary. But anyway, D1, D4, K10. I'm afraid you're just going to have to hope that Davison Figueiredo can roll back the years for you tomorrow night. But I'm not hopeful. Right, Dr. Maxis 2 next to see what the wheel's got in store for him. Let's see if a bit of better luck awaits him. And it does, because he's got Gene Silver. Gene Silver there for Dr. Maxis 2, which means that we also have our first head-to-head so far. Obviously, Baron von Rattus was drawn with Arnold Allen earlier in the game, earlier in this round. And Dr. Maxis 2 now with Gene Silver. So Dr. Maxis 2 versus Baron von Rattus as our first head-to-head. And as I was saying, it's just Gene Silver is an incredibly powerful fighter, insane knockout power. And just outside of the featherweight title picture. Obviously, his last loss against Diego Lopez, who's next in line to be fighting again in a rematch for the featherweight strap. Uh, so, um, so yeah, I feel like it's going to be a bit of a bounce back fight for him against Arnold Allen, who's not been the most active. And I mean, suppose to play devil's advocate here as to why Arnold Allen could win. I suppose what's Allen been doing in that time? Has he been completely changing his style? He's had plenty of time to work on new things. Maybe he's going to be a different kind of fight. Maybe he can make it a different kind of fight to what Gene Silver might be expecting. But I just feel like Gene Silver is going to be able to adapt to whatever Arnold Allen has. He's experienced enough himself now that should be able to change game plans if needed on the feet like that. But yeah, this is going to be. I can see it being a bit of a comeback fight. Gene Silver to get another knockout on his record against a fighter who's maybe suffering from a little bit of cage rust. So I think Dr. Maxis 2 is going to be getting the better of that head to head against Baron von Rattus. Okay, so El Guapo is next to discover his fate, see what awaits him in the second round of this game. And he also gets drawn with Ty Miller. So that's our first double up after our first head to head. We have Cool Hand Puke as well, was drawn with Ty Miller, and now Wapo also with Ty Miller. So, as I've mentioned earlier, 6-0 in his career, making his UFC debut against Adam Fugit, who I feel like the UFC are basically sacrificing him to their newest toy, their newest prospect. Fugit's not quite lived up to expectations in the UFC, so yeah, despite a couple of decent wins, he's not really set really established himself in the promotion. So yeah, I feel like the UFC very much, from a matchmaking point of view, are really trying to give Ty Miller um, a nice, good introduction fight to the UFC. They don't want him to lose. Let's put it that way, because that puts him in an awkward situation. But Ty Miller's skilled enough that, to be honest, I think he should win anyway, even if the UFC weren't. Even if I think he could probably, from what we saw of him on the Contender Series, it looks like he could probably take a fight a bit harder than Adam Forgett. But still, I can understand why the UFC have made this matchmaking. It makes perfect sense from their point of view. But El Guapo and of course Cool Hand Puke, they're going to be grateful for that bit of matchmaking because I think that's a very easy route for the to the next round for them. Okay, Foghorn Sam is next to see which fighter will be flying the flag for him. And it's Alexander Hernandez, a veteran of the promotion, of course. Alexander Hernandez there for Foghorn Sam. And it's a bit of a veterans fight, really, isn't it? It's Michael Johnson versus Alexander Hernandez. Uh, so Michael Johnson, of course, I'll just reel them off because I was saying earlier about the records that you're not really going to be seeing much of in the future. Michael Johnson, 24 wins, 19 losses in his MMA career. Um, and for him, 16 wins in the UFC and 15 losses in the promotion. Uh, how many fighters are having 30 plus UFC fights, let alone career fights, but in the UFC alone? Um, but Alexander Hernandez is also a bit of a veteran himself. Not quite as many fights, but 18 wins, 8 losses in his career, 10 and 7 in the UFC. So uh, he's very well established and a little bit fresher of the two veterans as well, which is a large part of why I have picked him to win by decision in this one. But anyway, so that's pretty much what it really comes down to. It's a case of which of these fighters is the less worn down, really, over their careers, because both of them in their primes, I've no idea. I'd have to do a lot of research to try and know who I think would come out on top in that one. But right now, Alexander Hernandez looks a little bit fresher. Um, he's a very entertaining fighter as well. He always puts on a good fight. Um, also still on a 4 fight win streak. And to be fair, Michael Johnson himself's on a 3 fight win streak, so neither of them are in bad form. Uh, it's just I feel like of the two of them, Hernandez is um yeah the least worn of them. But still, I feel like both of them after this fight anyway. I don't think for either of them it really matters too much who wins this, to be honest, because I feel like after this, both fighters still have winnable fights in the UFC if they will, obviously. So I feel like this is more of a sort. I like to think of this kind of fight as a sort of a celebration of two veterans in the of the UFC. Um, so yeah, it's just sort of a case of celebrate their careers, have another entertaining fight, and two veterans at a point to prove. See which ones could um still got it after all these years, so to speak. But for my money, that's Alexander Hernandez, and Foghorn Sam's going to be hoping so too. That's anyway. So now we move on to KK Kombu. Let's see who he's going to be paired with. Natalia Silva for KK Kombu. Natalia Silva. Obviously, she is fighting another UFC veteran, Rose Namajunas. Rose Namajunas, of course, former strawweight champion. Um, Arguably one of the best um, well, I don't think it's an argument really. She is one of the best strawweight fighters of all time at the moment. I wouldn't quite say the best. That's still Weili Zhang in my opinion, but still, it's a great career she's had down there. And since moving up to flyweight, she's not. She's had a good. To be fair, she's done better than I was initially expecting, to be honest. But has been a little bit of a mixed bag so far. Not quite the same level of domination that she enjoyed at strawweight. Um, but speaking of domination, though, Natalia Silva, that's pretty much all it has been in the UFC. Um, it's basically she's perfect in the promotion, 7-0. Quite experienced in MMA overall now, 19 and 5. Um, ironically, actually more experienced than Rose Namajunas. Those 14 and 7, even though it feels like Rose Namajunas has been around for longer. I'm sorry, I would correct myself there. Actually, Natalia Silva's 19 5 and 1. She forgot to mention a draw there. But yeah, she hasn't really shown any real weaknesses since joining the promotion back in 2022. Um, yeah, it's just a case of um, can Rose's experience over sort of win over the fights? But to be honest, I don't think so because Silver's already got some good wins, particularly a win over Grassover's really stands out as a good point. And I wouldn't be surprised if at some point we see her as the women's flyweight champion. So um, yeah, I think it's a very tough fight for Rose Namajunas here. I think she's going to be um, up against it. She's still good enough to make a good fight of it, and still skilled enough that if Natalia Silva does make some stupid error, Rose Namajunas will punish her for it, will capitalize on it. But I don't know. I just can't see Natalia Silva throwing this one away. She's a heavy favorite, and quite frankly, she's a favorite for a reason. Um, so yeah, it's I am rooting for Rose. I don't have anything against Natalia Silva, but obviously just having watched Rose Namajunas for longer, I am rooting for her, but just for old time's sake. But it is more hope than expectation, to be honest. But best we can hope for is an entertaining fight. But anyway, for KK Kombu's point of view, that's a very easy pass to the next round. It should be what that's one of the Natalia Silva is one of the few fighters I'd definitely say is a lock, so to speak, on this card. And luckily for KK Kombu, uh, that he's got one of those locks, so quite an easy pass there to the third round. Um, okay, MMA Autist next up. Let's have a look, see who he's going to be paired with, or they actually. We never know. And they get Denzel Freeman. MMA Autist gets a Denzel Freeman. Uh, so that's obviously a double up there because who was it? Had Denzel Freeman earlier. It was Chimp Smack. Denzel Freeman as well earlier. So both Chimp Smack and MMA Autist will be rooting for Denzel Freeman to beat Josh Hockett tomorrow night. But and as I've said, I have slightly favoured Freeman here. It's a close fight, but I feel like he is despite their similar records, I just feel like Freeman's got the better quality um, experience so far of their early careers, having those extra fights in the PFL. Uh, and Josh Hockett is more of I'll say Josh Hockett's probably the more dangerous fighter in terms of explosive power. I think if it does turn into a first round brawl, if this fight were to end in the first round, I'd expect it. I'd expect Josh Hockett to win. Sort of, if you told me that if you came from 24 hours time and told me, oh yeah, Josh Hockett wins or someone wins in the first round, I'd be like, oh yeah, it was Josh Hockett, wasn't it? But I feel like after the first round, the fight is all Denzel Freeman's, uh, just because of what I perceive to be better quality fights in his early career, by comparison. So and obviously when there's not many fights to compare, you have to compare. It does come down to a lot more to the substance of those fights, who they've been fighting, how good were the opponents. Obviously, that's always a factor, but especially so when there's less fights to compare. Rather, when you if you got a guy that's like 20 fights into their career, they gain experience just through being in the business for years. But when you're still fairly new to MMA or still your first few years in the as a professional, uh, it's the quality of the fighters more so that determines the kind of experience you gain. And For me, Freeman's just had that better start to his career, despite the loss. So despite the fact Josh Hockey is still undefeated, and of course Josh will have that confidence of an undefeated fighter still, but maybe that could be overconfidence. Maybe becoming a bit reckless and make a stupid mistake that Freeman can capitalize on. But I think Freeman's got a great chance here. Um, as I say, it's a close fight. It's certainly not a guaranteed ticket to the third round, but it is a very close fight. But one that I think Freeman should be the slight favourite for. Okay, Piggy Bank is next to see which fighter will be representing him tomorrow night. And he gets Adam Fugett. Obviously, that gives us what I'm assuming is now going to become our unofficial Lucky Bastard game main event. Adam Fugett versus Ty Miller. Obviously, this is the first one, Piggy Bank with Adam Fugett and Cool Hand Puke and El Guapo with Ty Miller. For the most part, the wheel's been selecting individual fights. Have been It's a good mix so far, but this is our first 2v1. So this is the fight with the most interest on it at the moment. And there's only four more to draw after this. So I think this could be our unofficial Lucky Bastard game main event. But as I've mentioned a couple of times now, I do get the feeling the UFC wants to sort of go a sort of softly approach with Ty Miller, sort of treat him with uh treat him with care and sort of nurture his path in the UFC, so to speak. And Adam Fugit, uh, the UFC, I don't know how much value the UFC see in Adam Fugit. I personally wouldn't mind him sticking around on the roster, even though maybe you can make a good case for him being cut. That maybe that welterweight's a stacked division anyway, so they don't really needs fighters like him on it. But still, I'd say that I don't mind keeping him around, but I can understand it if he did lose this and then we hear that he gets cut. But Ty Miller's an exciting prospect. The UFC know that too. And yeah, it does. I just can't shake the feeling that Adam Fugger is getting the raw end of the stick here. I feel like the UFC are really doing him dirty as a horrible potential parting gift from the promotion. But still, Fugger's still fairly early in his career himself. Only 15 fights into it, 16 after tomorrow night. So maybe we'll see him back on another charge in his career later on. Who knows? But I think tomorrow night's for that fight, it's all going to be about Ty Miller. So I think Piggy Bank might be leaving us after tomorrow night. Okay, Rigno is next. Let's see what the wheels got in store for Rigno. Well, yeah, it does look like that's going to be our main event then, our unofficial Lucky Bastard Game main event. Adam Fugit comes up again, 2v2 now. Piggy Bank and Rigno and Adam Fugit versus Cool Hand Puke and El Guapo with Ty Miller. So it's a 2v2 there. And with three more to go, I don't think that's going to be anything that really overtakes that. And interesting, interesting that it's from the point of view of the game that the fight with the most interest is the first fight on the card. We first UFC fight of 2026, and that is our first unofficial Lucky Bastard Game main event of the year as well. I think that's quite fitting, actually. But yeah, I'm not really much else I can bang on about for that fight. But so just talking about it from the point of view of the game, I think it, yeah, I think it's a great way to start the card, isn't it? Have the fight with the most interest um, on it. Get out of the way. Well, not out of the way as if that's a bad thing, but I mean straight into the action, right into the heart of the action. No warm ups, just boom. At least two of you will be going out. Um, Obviously, possibly all four of you if it turns out being a draw or a no contest or something stupid like that. But at least two of you will be going out on that fight, so we'll be losing two straight away. Unfortunately, I think it's very likely that Piggy Bank and Rigno are going to be those two that leave the game in the next round. Okay, Shat is next. Let's see who Shat is going to be matched with. And he gets Modestas. What's the diddly doodah? The name I can never fucking pronounce. Why is my thing gone funny? Screen sharing. What screen am I sharing at the moment? Yep, still the internet. It's just there we go. Modestas Busik, uh, uh, Bukauskas. Um, Obviously, we had some Calfoth drawn with Modestas earlier, and so two lumped onto this onto Modestas now. And as I said, I think he's going to win by a first round knockout against Nikita Krylov, who I feel like is, even though despite his experience, I feel like he's definitely past his prime. A little bit more vulnerable, a bit more worn down. He's a little bit more vulnerable in that sense, but obviously he's riding a two fight losing streak as well. Two fight and both of those fights he was knocked out in as well. Bogdan Guskov and Dominic Reyes were the fighters responsible for that statistic, and yeah, I can see it being a Modestas adding to that, um, making it a three fight knockout losing streak. Uh, Obviously, if Nikita Krylov does survive the early onslaught, uh, Bakuskas does have the experience to go the distance as well. So I think a first round knockout is likely, but not something that Bakuskas is relying on to win this fight. So I think this is again it's a very tough matchup for Krylov. Um, so yeah, not not much else I can add to that other than I think that Shat's got a very good chance of getting through, and I'm surprised that he's because Gus isn't as heavier favourite than he currently is. Um, so anyway, I think Shat's got a good chance of going through, as well as was it Calfoth, wasn't it? Yes, Calfoth. Okay, so down to our last two now. We have Cian Six. Let's see who Cian Six is going to be represented by. Well, yep, this is definitely our Lucky Bastard Game main event. That's now a 3v2. Adam Fugit versus Ty Miller, as Adam Fugit comes up for Cian Six as well. So that's That is Piggy Bank, Rigno, and CN6 with Adam Fugit versus Cool Hand Puke and El Guapo with Ty Miller. So that pretty much confirms that that fight will be our unofficial Lucky Bastard game main event. Unfortunately, the majority are on the side of Adam Fugit, who I feel like is being used as a sacrificial lamb here by the UFC. Um, so I feel like straight away we're going to be losing three players. Obviously, losing at least two, but I think three is more likely, namely Piggybank, Rigno, and now CN6. So I suppose if it's any consolation, not there will be much. We get that fight out of the way so that you can enjoy the rest of the card without that nervous anticipation of whether you'll be going through or not. At least you'll know for certain whether you're through or whether you're out. But yeah, very hard to put a positive spin on that, really. Still, part of the main events or the Lucky Bastard game main event anyway. So take a bit of pride in that, I suppose. Right. So our last player who needs a fighter attached to their name is Trail. So let's see who is going to be the last one of the second round. Who's Trail going to be matched with? Oh dear. Oh dear. The wheel has officially run out of fucks to give here. Um, oh, anyway, Adam Forget again for Trail. So that is could have at least balanced it out to make it 3-3, but no, they decided 4-2, four on side of the underdog. That is cruel from the wheel. That is uh maybe the wheel can hear that I've been slagging off Adam Fugit throughout the course of this game. Not deliberately. I don't have anything against Adam Fugit as a fighter, and I wish him all the best. But I'm just, in terms of this fight, I just can't see him winning. And yeah. Oh, what a cruel end to that round. Uh, of the last five to be drawn, four of them were drawn with Adam Fugit. Wow. Oh well. Definitely the Lucky Bastard game main events, and that is the pure shithousery this game can produce. This is why we do it. This is why I run this game. It results in a late night every Friday night usually, but it's I've missed this. I really have. Last month or so, I have missed this shithousery. I've almost forgotten the absolute chaos that an inanimate wheel can produce when thrown into the realm of MMA. Beautiful. We all love it. Anyway, uh, my apologies. So anyway, just to run over that one last time. Our Lucky Bastard game main event: Ty Miller versus Adam Fugit. Cool Hand Puke, El Guapo on the side of Ty Miller should be going through, and Piggy Bank, Rigno, CN6, and Trail all with Adam Fugit, who I think he'll be leaving us, unfortunately. Okay, so that concludes the second round draw. That's an interesting round, wasn't it? It starts off being a bit spread out, and then as soon as I say that, the wheel's like, right, Adam, 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 Adam. Anyway, so we'll just run through those one more time to remind ourselves. So obviously, just check I am sharing my Excel sheet now. Right, so we have Baron von Rattus with Arnold Allen, Boom Shakalaka with Ateba Gautier, Kalfoth with Modestus Bukauskas, Chimps Mac with Denzel Freeman, Cool Hand Puke with Ty Miller, D1D4K10 with Davison Figueiredo, Dr. Maxis 2 with Gene Silva, El Guapo with Ty Miller, Foghorn Sam with Alexander Hernandez, KK Combo with Natalia Silva, MMA Autist with Denzel Freeman, Piggy Bank with Adam Fugit, Rigno also with Adam Fugit, Shat with Modestas Bukauskas, Sion6 with Adam Fugit, as is Trail as well, to round off the second round draw. Okay, so that concludes the second round draw, and uh, obviously all eyes on the first fight of the night. Really, ironically, we've got nobody in the main event actually, or the co-main actually, or the tertiary one actually. The top three fights. You actually have to get because the top three fights. Obviously, we've got Justin Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett for the interim belt. Uh, the co-main event is the former bantamweight champion Sean O'Malley against Yadong Song. A very intriguing heavyweight fight below that with Waldo Cortez Acosta facing off against fan favorite Derek Lewis. Those fights haven't been touched in this game. Nobody has been drawn on either side of the top three. You have to go down to Natalia Silva versus Rose Namajunas before you get to there's the highest placed fights that's got any action in it. But yeah, this is definitely a game where I think a few of you are going to become a lot more familiar with some of the prelim fighters here. Uh, no doubt forming emotional attachments that if they do become veterans of the UFC, you'll always have a soft spot in your heart for them, supposing they get you through this round, of course. But all that leaves me to say is good luck for to everybody in this game. Good luck with your picks on Tapology. If you do have any bets on your card, and I was trying to mention gambling less in these games, but if you do have any bets, good luck with those. And until next time, so long for now.